guaranteed to appraise for double. The Jewelry Exchange Direct.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us on a very busy Monday night. And we begin tonight with new images of the deadly plane crash in California. Authorities revealing new details about the 5 people killed when that plane slammed into a home just after takeoff. Dashcam video showing the final moments, the plane bursting into flames in midair, then crashing into that neighborhood. The pilot and 4 people inside the home were killed as they were holding a Super Bowl party. The pilot's identity revealed during a news conference just a short time ago, and ABC's chief national correspondent Matt Gutman leading us off.
Tonight, those new images. That plane bursting like a meteoroid above Southern California. Look closely. You can see it was in free fall before erupting in flames. Whoa. Investigators now say witnesses report seeing the tail and wings break off. Residents ducking plane parts raining down on their neighborhood.
Whoa. I look up and I just see debris flying everywhere, and part of the plane flew down into the garage like a torpedo and just hit the garage and blew up.
One piece of exploding debris from the twin-engine Cessna smashed into this home. The flames dozens of feet high.
Went up so fast, there was nothing you could do.
This man tried to put out a fire with a gardening hose. Multiple homes damaged from the wreckage, propellers scattered on lawns, windows shattered. In this video, you can hear the debris still popping off, with folks yelling, "Get back." 5 people killed in the crash, the pilot a retired Chicago police officer, and those 4 family members inside that home. They were all attending a Super Bowl party. And David, one challenge for investigators here is going to be the scale of the debris field. It covers 4 blocks. At least 15 homes were hit by flying debris from that plane. And one of the factors that I'm told investigators will certainly examine is the weather. There were thunderstorms and heavy rain showers in the area at the time of the crash. David.
All right, Matt Gutman leading us off tonight. Matt, thank you. Tonight's other major headline, the all-consuming firestorm swirling around Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. The governor overwhelmed tonight by calls to resign, the list growing over a racist photo from his medical school yearbook. His own explanations adding to the chaos. The image shows one man in blackface, the other dressed as a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Governor Northam first admitting he is one of the men pictured, then denying he's in the photo. Tonight, the governor is now asking his own cabinet for more time to decide his next move. ABC Chief National Affairs Correspondent Tom Llamas in Richmond tonight.
Tonight, the calls for Governor Ralph Northam to resign are growing, but the Virginia Democrat refusing to step down. The trouble started when this racist photo emerged from his medical school yearbook page. At first, Northam confirmed he was one of the 2 men in the photo, but the next day,
I believe then and now that I am not either of the people in that photo.
But then Northam admitted he had appeared in blackface once before, during a dance contest in 1984 where he dressed as Michael Jackson.
I had the shoes, I had a glove, and I used just a little bit of shoe polish to put under on my cheeks. And the reason I used a very little bit is because I don't know if anybody's ever tried that, but you cannot get shoe polish off.
And when a reporter inquired if he could still moonwalk, the governor seemed to want to try.
Are you still able to moonwalk?
Inappropriate circumstances.
My wife says inappropriate circumstances.
Our Zachary Quiche asking him this question.
Do you think as a grown adult that it's problematic that you need to have it explained to you that blackface is offensive?
No, I'm not a person of color, and people of color experience different things. It affects them different ways.
Nearly every politician in Virginia has called on Northam to resign. So have virtually all the Democrats running for president. And if he ultimately takes their advice, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax is next in line.
I believe that the governor has to make the decisions in the best interest of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
And Tom Llamas joins us tonight from outside the Virginia governor's mansion in Richmond. And Tom, Governor Northam, I know, met with his cabinet earlier today. And tonight you've learned he's still resisting calls for him to resign? We've lost Tom's audio, but apparently that is the case. He is resisting calls to resign tonight. Tom Llamas, our thanks to you. We're going to turn next tonight to an ABC News exclusive. On the eve of the State of the Union, we are just back tonight from Afghanistan. Our interview with the U.S. commander in America's longest war on talks with the Taliban. Is there an endgame in sight? Will some of the 14,000 U.S. troops be coming home? We are one-on-one tonight with General Scott Miller, who gave us rare access to what American Special Forces are doing to help the Afghans fight the Taliban. Tonight, right here, images of this assault on the Taliban just weeks ago. Their hands in the air and what was discovered at that site. Overnight, President Trump said of Afghanistan he wanted to bring U.S. troops home. Tonight, our trip, our interview with the four-star general leading the fight. We board a Black Hawk helicopter waiting for us in Kabul, Afghanistan, with the top U.S. commander, four-star General Scott Miller, who has taken over here at a pivotal moment in America's longest war. He was among the first American soldiers deployed here after 9/11.
You ever think, right after 9/11 when you were here, that you'd be back all these years later as the commander?
Absolutely not. I didn't think it'd be 17, 18 years later.
General Miller is flying us over the mountains south of Kabul. He is about to show us what could be a crucial part of any possible endgame here. We land and are taken to Camp Commando, where Special Forces are at work. The Afghan forces training with American eyes watching. Under General Miller, the Afghans, with support from the coalition, have accelerated the fight against the Taliban. These are rare images captured by American forces of a raid on the Taliban just weeks ago. Afghan Special Forces, backed by the Americans, storming this Taliban prison. Taliban fighters with their hands in the air. They are about to rescue their own troops who had been held captive by the Taliban inside that prison, chained to one another. They cut through shackles to set them free. And what is remarkable here is that even as they target the Taliban with deadly force, the U.S. is also now negotiating with the Taliban, trying to end this war.
The political talks, I do think, are positive. I've talked about this fight multiple times, and it is a fight. Neither side will win it militarily. So if neither side's going to win it militarily, you have to move into towards a political settlement here.
Do you think those political talks with the Taliban are a key part of any endgame here?
Absolutely.
There have been reports that the president would like to see a drawdown of U.S. troops here in Afghanistan. Has there been any order to do that yet?
No. First off, I have the authorities, I have the capabilities that I need from the U.S. and the coalition standpoint to work with our Afghan partners. At the same time, as a commander, I'm always trying to bring the footprint down, bring our force structure down.
And the U.S. commander made it clear he's a general, not a policymaker, and says he'll follow his chain of command and the president.
We're flying over Kabul here in Afghanistan, of course, America's longest war, and they'll tell you here that part of any endgame for U.S. forces here, making sure that the Afghan forces are prepared to fight the insurgency.
And that insurgency now includes ISIS. You are looking at images they captured of Afghan Special Forces just weeks ago with help from the Americans, the coalition. They are fighting ISIS, not in Syria, but in Afghanistan, supported with U.S. airstrikes. And unlike the Taliban, ISIS has no desire to negotiate. And this four-star general has no desire to let them go unchecked. General Miller making it clear there is no endgame here, with safe havens for terrorists.
In 2001, it was very clear to the world what we were doing in Afghanistan. And in 2019, there still are national interests that need to be safeguarded.
General Miller telling me they will continue the assault on the Taliban even as the talks move forward. They will keep up the pressure and the escalating assault on ISIS. He is determined to make sure any possible safe havens, like the ones that existed on 9/11, are destroyed. We turn now to the blistering report, citing information reportedly from inside the White House. Schedules raising questions about President Trump's work schedule. Axios obtaining the president's private schedule for the past 3 months, showing about 60% of the time is made up of so-called executive time. So what does that mean? And tonight, the White House now blasting the leak as a, quote, disgraceful breach of trust. Here's ABC senior national correspondent Terry Moran tonight.
President Trump, returning to Washington late last night, was hunkering down today, prepping for the State of the Union. But his White House tonight is grappling with that unprecedented leak of nearly every day of the president's private schedules for the past 3 months. Trump's private schedules leaked to Axios, the Washington, D.C. news organization, reveal nearly 60% of Trump's scheduled time has been spent in unstructured executive time. Only 15% in formal meetings, less than 8% attending events. Aides say the president often schedules spur-of-the-moment meetings and sometimes keeps them off his official schedule. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders telling Axios President Trump has a different leadership style than his predecessors, and the results speak for themselves. But the real shock here is the level of disloyalty this leak represents. Madeleine Westerhout, Trump's executive assistant, tweeted, "What a disgraceful breach of trust."
So let's get to Terry Moran. He's live at the White House tonight. And Terry, President Trump this evening making international headlines for comments he made about American troops in Iraq. The president saying he wants to keep a military presence in Iraq in part to, quote, watch Iran.
That's right, David. The president has long said he wants to bring Americans home from Iraq, as he does in Afghanistan. And now he says, however, that a small contingent could remain inside Iraq to watch Iran and the rest of the region. The State Department, however, says the mission hasn't changed. It's to go after ISIS. And the government of Iraq said he hadn't asked permission. The prime minister is saying, do not pursue your own priorities. We live here. David?
Terry Moran tonight. Terry, our thanks to you. And of course, ABC News and our powerhouse political team will have live coverage of the president's State of the Union address and, of course, the Democratic response. It's tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here. But in the meantime, tonight, we move on to the other news and the deadly storms in the west. Heavy rain and flood alerts in Southern California at this hour. Powerful storms triggering landslides. The image is unbelievable tonight. Drivers unable to make it through washed out roads in Eagle Rock right there. And then whiteout conditions shutting down I-80 from Applegate to the Nevada state line. And this evening, the snow paralyzing planes in Seattle. That system now moving east with snow, ice, and rain. And here's ABC's Will Carr tonight.
Tonight, powerful winter storms are wreaking havoc up and down the West Coast. In and around Seattle, police are helping push some drivers to safety, while others slide down hills, unable to stop.
You can see there are 4 cars lined up, all of them lost control.
The weather forcing schools to close while delaying or canceling more than 500 flights at Seattle's airport. In California's Sierra Nevada mountains, the storms dumped up to 8 feet of snow in just 48 hours. This new storm moving in after a deadly weekend. Dramatic high water rescues, mudslides, and flash floods sweeping across Southern California. In Ventura County, a first responder killed by an out-of-control vehicle after he stopped to help another crash. And a giant sinkhole swallowing this construction equipment, the driver rescued.
Tonight, first responders are on high alert. There's more dangerous weather in the forecast. We're expecting rain and snow through Tuesday. David.
Will Carr tonight. Will, our thanks to you. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee tracking it all. She's live tonight along the George Washington Bridge. Ginger, good evening.
Good evening, David. Can you imagine getting 72 inches of snow in just 24 hours? They did that in June Mountain, California, and it's still snowing in the Sierra. Look at those blizzard warnings. You could see another 2 feet of snow and winds gusting to 100 miles per hour. There are winter storm warnings all the way down to Los Angeles outside of LA in the mountains and San Diego in the mountains. Look at the futurecast here. This is going to take you through time-wise what the 2 low-pressure systems mean on the screen. In the Rockies, it's more snow. When you go east with that first low, Chicago gets ice tomorrow night, so you could really see some problems on the roadways into Detroit, Toledo, even Cleveland by Wednesday morning. All ahead of that, some major warmth. We've already had a dozen daily record highs set today, and tomorrow we could see more, David.
Just about everyone welcoming that. All right, Ginger, thank you. There is news tonight in the trial against notorious drug lord El Chapo here in New York City. Jury deliberations are now underway. Joaquin Guzman is accused of murder plots, drug trafficking, and money laundering. Prosecutors say he smuggled 200 tons of cocaine into the U.S. The defense claims he's the victim of a conspiracy. The jury remaining anonymous because of safety concerns in that trial. And to the economy tonight and news on jobs this Monday, General Motors with a new round of layoffs. The company says it began eliminating about 4,000 jobs today. It's part of a previously announced plan to cut 15% of its workforce. GM is also planning on closing 5 plants in the U.S. and Canada. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Monday. The new controversy involving Liam Neeson, what the actor said about who he wanted to kill, and what he's now saying tonight. Also, the other well-known actor discovered dead, and now the mystery. We'll have more on that. And the mid-air scare on a passenger plane, pilots forced to suddenly turn back after what was reported in the cockpit. We'll have more on that. A lot more news ahead tonight.